Good morning. You are listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city at WFOY 1240 AM studios. Through the power of the Internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1240news.com, and the show will be also archived on RowAuctions.com. They're our sponsor, and also YouTube.com. We're going to be talking about real estate auctions, past auctions, upcoming auctions, different real estate markets across the country. We have a lot of topics today to help us out. We have several real estate and auction leaders calling in today. Let me go over our schedule and a few things about the people who will be calling in. We have Mark Rogers. He is the president of the National Auctioneers Association and hails from Mount Airy, North Carolina. We also have Jeffrey Rogers, who's the president of Integra Realty Resources, and that's corporate in New York, New York. And also Ronnie Reagan, who is from Row Auctions in Moultrie, Georgia. So we have a great group. Let me tell you exactly what we're doing here. The radio show mission statement is to provide an educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. Again, we are very pleased to have guests of the stature and VIPs in the real estate and auction business. And again, we're going to have the president of the National Auctioneers Association from Mount Airy, North Carolina. His name is Mark Rogers. I do want to talk a little bit about the fact that brokers who call me, and I talk to them throughout the weeks, and they want to know a little bit about auctions. How do they make money in auctions? And I've done this segment before, and maybe we'll have time a little bit later because we have a call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hello, Doug. This is Mark Rogers.
Hey, Mark. How are you doing, sir?
We're outstanding, having a great Friday.
Well,
July the
good.
1st. Hope you are.
Well, I am, and it's beautiful here today, and everybody is all excited about the July 4th weekend, and I thank you very much for taking the time to call in. I know you actually have an auction today, and so being able to call in is very special to me, and I appreciate it. You are the president.
Glad to do it.
You are the president of the National Auctioneers Association. Tell me a little bit about the National Auctioneers Association.
Sure, Doug. Well, the National Auctioneers Association was established in 1949. And today we are fortunate to have 4,000 active members who are getting ready to celebrate their 62nd year with a convention in Orlando, July the 12th through the 16th. And there'll be about 50 educational seminars there. And the week kind of is showcased on Friday by the talented men and women from all across the country and even foreign countries that will participate in a live contest. We call it the International Auctioneers Championship. So it's going to be an exciting week. And, you know, the National Auctioneers Association mission today is to promote the professionalism of auctioneers and auctions through education and technology. So we do that year-round, but the conference and show is the event that brings us all together in one setting, and everybody looks forward to that. It's a great opportunity.
Now, you say there's educational. Are these classes or are these seminars or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. We have some professional designations like AARE, Accredited Auctioneer of Real Estate, and we have some appraisal designations and technology designations. And those are classes that really commence probably on the 8th or 9th of July. We call them pre-conference educational offerings. But then the 12th through the 16th is primarily, those 50 offerings then are primarily seminars. There may be 20 people in the room, there may be 200, just depending on the topic and at the time of the offering. But a lot of seminars, topics include, of course, real estate at auction, the impact of technology on our industry today, and a host of other seminars.
Well, before I forget, how can people find out about the conference and sign up and register?
best way is to go to www.auctioneers.org, and there's a link to the conference and shows. Actually, a couple of pages that are just designated for the conference, and it has all the educational offerings I mentioned in detail, right down to the hour, the topic, and the presenter. And of course, there's an online registration right there at auctioneers.org.
Now, what do you do as president of the National Auctioneers Association? Is this a paid position, volunteer position?
Well, that's a good question, Doug. I chuckle because, sometimes I wished it was paid, but it is a volunteer position. But, you're just really the leader of the board of directors and of course, a representative to the entire membership. But we have our officers are president, past president, vice president, treasurer. We have some representatives from key alliances like the National Auctioneers Foundation, our Auction Education Institute trustees, and then other board members. And then we have a board member that serves at large that the president designates. And so we represent the membership. The president leads the meetings, annual meeting, leads our conferences, and when we have our board meetings in October and April, and we have a monthly conference call, and the executive committee has a weekly conference call. So it's busy. It's a busy time, but just really the leader of the association, the spokesperson for the association.
Well, that's a wonderful thing that you're doing, because I know it takes a lot of time and effort, and it's a big responsibility. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the auction business?
Okay, well, I'm one of many people apparently in our industry, according to a Michigan State University study a couple years ago, that there are a lot of family businesses in the auction industry. And that's me. I'm a second-generation auctioneer. My son is following in my footsteps. He is active in our company today. But my dad started our company in 1964 as a one-person real estate shop.
Mm-hmm.
He was primarily a land broker, was successful, did not have any ties to the auction industry. And another auction company actually hired him as a rep, kind of a rep in a 10-county or 15-county region of Northwest North Carolina, Southwest Virginia. And he started signing up auctions, land auctions primarily, in those days, and some farm-related auctions. He was successful, and those guys moved to retirement. He went into our community then and hired a tobacco auctioneer he knew, because Dad was not an auctioneer. Again, he was a real estate broker. But that began our entry into the auction industry in the 70s. So I grew up in the business, and I have tagged along to many weekday and Saturday auctions as a young man, even a preteen. And so grew up, and Dad did not pressure me to enter the business, which was probably a good thing. It gave me the option, and after going to community college down the road and studying management and following him and working and getting my auctioneer license, next thing you knew, I decided this is for me. And I've been happy in the industry, and I am today.
Well, we never listen to our parents, right? And our kids don't listen to us, and so the best thing to do is, don't tell them what to do and hope that they come to the path that you'd like them to.
Yeah, now today, as I have a son, actually I have a grandson, a granddaughter. Now I kind of recognize or understand his wisdom in not telling me I had to go to the family business or had to enter the family business. So it worked out pretty well.
It is wisdom. It is wisdom. And we all get caught up with our sons and daughters and in trying to help and maybe sometimes be too helpful. Listen, you are, again, really presiding over an organization that has had a lot of changes and it's an internet world now. We advertise, we do research. The National Association of Realtors have some ungodly number like most people who look for real estate start on their computer, 95% of the time, something like that. And so we have gone through a lot of changes. And so, talk about wisdom. You and Hannes Combes, the CEO of the National Auctioneers Association, and the board somehow decided that you guys needed to sit down and talk about the future. And I have a study in front of me. It says, give me 5, now 10 years into the future. And it's about future practices. And tell me, why you decided to have a panel for this, and then, most importantly, what were the results?
Okay. Well, wouldn't it be nice if our crystal ball was very clear and painted a picture or a path into the future? But it's just not that way.
Mm-hmm.
But what we have to do, of course, is try to gather the best people, the brightest minds, and visionaries, and people that with insight into our industry, and perhaps people that don't know a lot about our industry, and say, okay, this is where we've been. We have a clear picture looking back, but where are we going? And what's happening to us in this economy? And I tell people all the time, it's a new economy. It may take some time to get back to where we were.
Right.
Maybe years, perhaps never. We just don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
But that has had an impact on the auction industry, auctioneers, as well as all industries across the country. But in technology, the role that technology plays is certainly a method of promoting auctions. It's a method of selling at auction, both with an auctioneer live and with the internet bidding at the same time. And, of course, there's a growing success in the online auction method. And so how do all these things tie together, and what will happen? Doug, you asked me how I got started, but I went tagging along with Dad and auctioneers across the foothills of Virginia and North Carolina and East Tennessee, and there was just always the live auctioneer standing in the back of a truck,
Yep.
tailgate of a station wagon, standing on a box, standing on a front porch. Well, just think where we are today with the internet. And so I witnessed that. But back in those days, we went to every fall to the tobacco auction. A local market, hundreds of people gathered, farmers sold their tobacco they'd worked all summer for, their livelihood in the hands of the auctioneer and the
Yep.
tobacco buyers. Those are gone. It's history. Kind of sad. I think it is sad. And why? Well, because the tobacco companies changed the way they buy. Well, consumers today are changing the way they purchase. I heard a couple of young ladies recently, a little cafe in town, since kind of, oh, look at that dress, oh, it's so, oh, I love it, look at it's so bright, and just on and on and on. It was kind of, wow. She said, where'd you get it? And the girl said www to a website. She didn't say the shop down the street
Yep.
or at the mall.
Yep.
She purchased it online. Now, what does that do to the auction industry? Well, I think it can be both challenging and positive. But the paper, then, of course, we said, we've got to figure out where we're going, and so we looked at where we think we are, and there's some things that we can't control. One of the things is just the economic uncertainty, unemployment, and home sales, and there's a lot of small businesses that are failing. I asked a very successful friend of mine recently, a real estate developer, said, what are you thinking about 2011? How are we doing in 2011? We've survived this far. What's your thoughts? He said 2011 is the year the good guy goes down. What do you mean? He said, us guys like you and me who we didn't think would fail, or our businesses may fail in 2011. Kind of frightening. I said, well, that's kind of negative. And a week later, a friend of mine is a contractor I go to church with, and he filed bankruptcy. And I thought, man, is this the year the good guy goes down? So it sort of frightened him. So small business failures, the lending standards. It seems like the banks are trying to lend money, but the structure's changed. They're requiring more cash in, and just high personal debt, national debt. So many things we can't control, but they're affecting the auction industry because it's affecting people's cash in the pocketbook. That disposable income. So if they come to an auction with less money to spend, it may actually pull the results or gross proceeds down somewhat. So what do we do to get more people there? And I think that's one of the ways we get into the technology side. The Michigan State study tells us that the auctioneers that incorporate both a live and online model together are truthfully more profitable. They're making more money. And they're getting better results for the seller. And we can't ignore that. So we can't say that there's just one way to conduct an auction anymore. Many firms are posting their results online. From machinery to real estate, the consumer goes to websites and they search and they find out what these homes have sold for, what land sells for per acre in this community, what machinery sells for, what cars sell for, and they come to the auction, and you can better bet they're going to buy within their range because they know the values. And then even the social media, auctions are on YouTube, and comments are written on Facebook. So if I have a very successful auction and somebody posts that on YouTube, that can be a nice commercial. If I have a tough auction, I'll call it, and maybe a poor auction for whatever reason, and somebody puts that on YouTube, then will I be judged as a failure? And maybe that's the first auction out of 100 successful auctions we had.
Right.
It just wasn't the best of days.
Yep.
But if the bad one gets on YouTube, how will that impact me in my business? So again, but that's a trend that we can't control, but we have to figure out how to utilize it to the best of our ability. And a quick example: recently we were conducting a real estate auction. Nice little crowd at a single-family dwelling. Obviously, there were some people there that were new to auctions and were intrigued, and we liked that, and we welcome everyone. And when we started auctioning, 4 different, I guess you'd say smartphones or flip cameras went up. And I thought, what are they doing? And they videoed the first part of our auction.
Wow.
And it was almost like saying, okay, kids in the class, anyone have a question? And the hands go up. Well, what went up were cameras. And I was experiencing what this paper has talked about, that I can't control somebody using their smartphone and video in my auction. And, of course, we hope they'll post it if it's successful. And if it's negative, what will they do?
Right.
I'm not so much concerned about what they'll post, but how the consumer will take that and what they'll do with that information. So the paper is quite complex, but points, talks about governmental regulations on small businesses. But the good news is, it talks about as well the opportunities for the auction industry. And we are confident that we kind of tagged a phrase, opportunity agility. And we believe that auctioneers, auction firms, auction professionals with what we call business intuition and flexibility, being wise and alert to trends, being visionary, and even those that can identify new specialties in our industry will be successful.
Well, I guess the challenge, and a lot of people in their mind think that because it's a down economy that we should be, kicking butt as auctioneers. We should be, the wealthiest guy in town because we have so many auctions.
I hear it all the time.
Yeah, and you've really got to be careful on what kind of auctions to take, because what you said earlier, you're only as good as the last auction you did. And
right.
And this YouTube and internet, it affects us positively and negatively. One of the challenges, in my career is that auctions have always been apparently in our sellers, or many of our sellers, and the public's perception is it's the core of last resort. And, if we can't sell it by a broker, then we'll try the auctioneer. And, I had Stanley Tate on, former RTC head, last week, and when he just started doing the RTC, because he was in my own backyard and I knew him, I convinced him to do an auction where he had a lot of interest, and it was a good property. And the difference is that every offer that he would get would be different. And one had financing, and one wanted less deposit, and one wanted a longer closing period. And when he made that decision to have an auction, and he did an absolute auction for a bank building, which was wonderful. Now it's very transparent. Everybody is on the same playing field. They're playing with the same rules, and the darn thing brought like 150% of appraisal. And that's how he got into auctions and did so many RTC auctions when he was involved. And so I think that's, my little share of how do we convince our sellers that because they have a property with interest, that's the time to put it on the auction block to find out what it's really worth. I mean, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, I'll give you a good recent example.
Okay.
We had an auction recently, local, a little small home and acreage belonged to an estate, and the family were both hot and cold about selling it at auction, and they actually tried to stop the auction. I think it lost momentum. Had poor attendance. It had a reserve, and it did not sell.
Mm-hmm.
You think, well, why did that happen? With the marketing and the effort and the exposure on the internet, where were the buyers? Well, guess what? It's been on the market 3 years prior.
Yep.
3 years. They'd worn it out. It had been shopped and shopped and shopped and shopped at a high, unrealistic price.
Yep.
Guess what? Remember I said educated consumers earlier? Their education was that this party wanted 150 because that's how it had been put out to the public in the past.
Right.
Our objective that day was to get about 75, and the family would have been very pleased with 75. But offering it for 3 years at 150, they ran off the buyers.
Yep.
So, again, is that perceived as a poor auction? I was disappointed, but now flip side, when it was fresh to the market, like you were saying, if it came to the auction first, I think the results would have been quite different.
Yep.
And when it was fresh and new, it would have been more of just more appealing to people, I believe. And then that 150, as auctioneers, we typically do not hang a price out there, even though sometimes we do sell above a published price, but many times we do not. So they would be intrigued and really trying to figure out the right price. But, we say that the auction method will determine the right price. And the trading price
Mark,
is real property.
Mark, we're going to have to go for a break. Could you hold on for like 3 minutes so we could get back on? And again, I know you've got an auction, so it'll be another 5 minutes if that's okay. Is that all right?
Works fine, you bet.
Okay. We're going to go to break a little bit. We have Mark Rogers, who's the president of the NAA, which is the National Auctioneers Association, talking about future practices, talking about his upcoming conference in Orlando, Florida for auctioneers. We're going to go for a quick break at the half hour. He's going to come back, and stay tuned.
It's time to visit the St. John's Flea Market. Great deals every weekend. Every weekend there's more, too. Great bargains and great food and those great deals at the St. John's Flea Market. Get off I-95 at State Road 207. That's I-95 at 207. And if you want to be a vendor, hey, booth rentals start at only $10 a day. Churches and charities, you can get a free booth 2 days a month. And for everybody else, there's always great deals at the St. John's Flea Market. Call them up, 824-4210, or go to stjohnsfleamarket.com.
Licensed by the state as a skilled nursing facility and certified for a broad range of payer types, the Ponce Therapy Care Center's team of professionals is committed to providing the best nursing care and rehabilitation services. Choosing a skilled nursing facility for a loved one is always a difficult decision. At the Ponce Therapy Care Center, our admissions and social service staff assist you in making an informed, caring decision. We provide information about our facility, determine your payment options, and strategize about your loved one's regimen of care, length of stay, and expected discharge to home. At the Ponce Therapy Care Center, we are proud that over 90% of those admitted to our rehabilitation program successfully return to home. In an industry that is often seen as the final alternative, our goal is to become your first option and facility of choice for skilled nursing and rehab services. The Ponce Therapy Care Center is located at 1999 Old Moultrie Road. Call us at 824-3311 or visit us online at poncecarecenter.com.
Now at Angel Nail and Spa. Hair, nail, facial for only $60. Get your hair cut, shampooed, and styled by a master stylist and color specialist. Get your nails and feet done by a professional nail specialist. And, more importantly, protect your skin from sun damage and aging with a deep cleansing facial. All for only $60. Call 461-9190 and tell them you heard about this special on News Talk 1240 WFOY. Do it for yourself. You'll love it.
There is nothing more attractive than confidence, especially when it's got the looks of a 2011 Lincoln vehicle to back it up. When you come to Bozard Lincoln, your confidence and ours will be at an all-time high, because not only do you get a great offer, you also get our standard complimentary 4-year, 50,000-mile maintenance plan.
On a Lincoln MKX with exclusive sync and MyTouch technology that hasn't existed until now. On a loaded Lincoln MKZ that's putting standards back into luxury. On a Lincoln MKS that seemingly has everything, including the available technology to practically parallel park itself. And on a Lincoln MKT with more than just something for everyone. It has everything for everyone.
It's time to get out there and see what's new. Come take a test drive in a 2011 Lincoln at Bozard Lincoln. The coverage includes a maximum of 8 regularly scheduled maintenance services. Bozard Lincoln has qualifications and complete details. Lincoln, it's not just luxury, it's smarter than that.
Okay, we are back. This is the National Real Estate Auction Radio Show, and we are thrilled to have the president of the National Auctioneers Association, Mark Rogers, on the line with us. He's patiently held through a couple of minutes of ads, and Mark, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Great. Tell us, and I know we're kind of going through philosophies and everything, and at a conference, this is the time that, as a leader, you're able to impart your vision to the rest of the group. What are you going to be saying to the after having the study done, after getting people to serve on this? What are you going to be telling that group in Orlando in a few weeks?
Well, that there's a lot of opportunity for our industry. A lot of individuals as well as businesses need the services of professional auction firms to sell real estate and other assets. One of the challenges of the real estate is, of course, they'll say, well, it's not liquid. But with an auction, it can become liquid and obviously converted to cash in a short period of time. And so whether it's an individual seller, a bank, a government agency, many of these institutions need our services. And so if we'll get out and pitch the method and hopefully present it in a way that's simple and straightforward and easy to understand, there's a lot of opportunity for auctions in the future, regardless of the economy.
Well, again, I told you I've got the study in front of me. Do you mind, because I know you're a volunteer and the rest of your panel are basically volunteers. Do you mind if I read off the people who served with you so that they can be recognized for their fine work?
That's great. Good idea.
Okay. Again, Mark Rogers is the chairman of this Council on Future Practices. John Schultz was the vice chairman. Kurt Allman, Hannes Combes, who is the CEO of the NAA. Jerry Day, Stephen Carbelk, Kurt Kiefer, Christy King, Larry Latham, Will McLemore, and Sarah Sonke all helped you in coming up with the study, and so they should be recognized for their fine work too. Tell us, do you have any upcoming auctions? Because I know that it seems like you're doing 95% of your work trying to help the profession, but you also have to make a living. Tell us what's happening for your company and what kind of auctions do you have coming up, or recent auctions?
Sure, Doug. Thank you. recently we've sold some small commercial tracts of land in southwest Virginia and the Piedmont of North Carolina, a number of single-family homes, both for attorneys helping families settle estates, as well as some bank-owned properties. On the horizon, some more commercial properties in North Carolina, a couple of farm parcels in the Piedmont of North Carolina, and a couple of improved commercial sites with like warehouse-type buildings coming up in August. So, hey, in July, just a few days away at Conference and Show, I'll actually change titles, Doug, to past president.
Aha.
I may have more opportunity to get out and participate in some of our auctions. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, give us your website so people can find out about those auctions, and also a contact number where people can call in if they're interested in those auctions.
Sure. It's, of course, www. Rogers Auction Group, all one word, RogersAuctionGroup.com. Doug, our office number is 336-789-2926.
And one more
Appreciate
thing.
That opportunity.
Yeah, one more thing before I let you go to your auction. You talked about the conference coming up, and that was it was going to be seminars, it was going to be certification classes, but something about an auctioneer title. Tell us about that contest, and what do the panel rate the auctioneers to become that? Basically, it's the best auctioneer in the country.
Yes, thank you, Doug. That's a good point. We call it the International Auctioneer Championship, and because we typically will have contestants from Canada, South Africa, and other countries, in addition to our contestants located in the States. This year, there's signed up, I think, about 85 total men and women. There's a women and men's division.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good question because we're looking for professional auctioneers to represent the National Auctioneers Association and what our industry stands for. And so they're judged on, when they get on stage, of course, they're stage presence. And can they do what you and I are doing? Can they conduct an interview? Or what if it was a TV camera in front of them? Or, and how would they respond to being taped, put on YouTube and things of that nature? But their appearance, their conduct, their poise, the way they answer questions, because there's an interview part.
Mm-hmm.
And the interview will be questions. Of course, they don't know the questions. They cannot study in advance. Questions about the auction industry, the auction method of marketing, what it means to be a professional auction ear or auction firm today. And that's on stage, and it's live. So there's a lot of pressure. And then the actual auction contest where they'll actually chant and sell merchandise that evening. So, but about half of the points are for their interview and how they conduct themselves, as well as just their auctioneer talent.
Poise and professionalism.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, again, give us the website that people who are interested in making an auctioneer profession as their career, where do they go to so they can find out how they become a auctioneer? And, of course, what a great opportunity to go to Orlando in a couple of weeks.
You bet. The best place is auctioneers.org, auctioneers with an S, auctioneers.org. And there's links to the conference and show coming up, and there's links to auction schools that offer their services through our website.
Well, very, very nice. Thank you so much for taking time on a July 4th weekend. Also, I know you have an auction to go to. Thank you so much for coming on, and again, enjoy your weekend.
Same to you, Doug. I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Take care now.
You too.
All right. That was Mark Rogers, the president of the National Auctioneers Association. He is going to be presiding over the conference that's going to be in Orlando in a couple of weeks. And again, if you're interested in going to that conference or finding out about how you become an auctioneer, how to be involved in the auction profession, the website is auctioneers.org, auctioneers.org. We're going to go for a quick break, and we'll be right back.
MarkNet Alliance is a national, membership-based network of 41 auction companies. Our companies are successful auction professionals with proven track records and thriving businesses. The MarkNet companies have a staff of over 540 employees who are working hard every day to meet the goals of their clients during our ever-changing economy. MarkNet companies are able to achieve these goals through cutting-edge technologies and ever-growing investor pools. To view the hundreds of auctions currently being conducted, or for more information, visit marknetalliance.com.
Okay, we just had a call, and hopefully the caller will call right back in. We had the president of the NAA, the National Auctioneers Association. They had a study done with about, I'm going to say, 15 panel members trying to figure out the future. And again, all businesses should be doing this in regards to, what is the greatest probability of what's going to take place in the next 5 or 10 years? How do we adapt to that? How are we going to, take the best of our opportunities and our skills to make us profitable and survive? And they did a fine job. It's like a 20-page report. It's great to have any profession do something like that, and I congratulate Mark Rogers for being the volunteer president for the past year of the National Auctioneers Association. They did a great job in promoting the business, and he has taken a lot of time from his personal life and his business life to lead that group. And so, again, I acknowledge his fine work. Okay, we've got a call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Jeffrey Rogers with Integra Realty Resources.
Hey, Jeffrey. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. I know this is a hectic time. It's the July 4th weekend, and everybody is making plans, and the fact that you took time out to call into the show, I very much appreciate it. Tell us about your company, and what do you do, Jeffrey?
Sure. The name of the company is Integra Realty Resources. Our website is IRR.com, such as our internal rate of return. But we provide valuations for commercial real estate, to put it in a nutshell. And this is could be for any reason. But our clients are, in general, investors of commercial real estate. So they could be banks that are providing financing. They could be developers or owners who hold for investment purposes. Or there can be government agencies which also hold in this case, in this environment, they have become big owners of commercial real estate as well. So we have 60 offices throughout the United States. We're headquartered in New York, but we cover every primary and secondary territory in the United States. And for what we do, we're the largest firm in the United States.
Now, you work with investors and also financial institutions, mostly investors who are trying to figure out if they want to buy a pool of properties or that hotel. Give me more information on that. How do how do I hire you?
Sure. We work with we do work with investors, and in some cases they're institutional investors who are in the business of real estate, so they already know that they want to buy. But we are kind of a third-party verifier for financial institutions that are making loans as well. So, for example, when you buy a house, the bank will order an appraisal to make sure the value is up to what it needs to be for collateral purposes. Same thing when someone buys an office building or a hotel and they get it financed, the bank will require an appraisal. So we will provide that appraisal for the commercial real estate. Now, an appraisal for commercial real estate is a lot more intense and in-depth. You can do an appraisal for a house in a couple of hours, but for an office building or a hotel or something complex, a mixed-use retail, it takes anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to complete an appraisal. So it's a very different process.
Well, that's great. I think when I sent you that invitation to be on the show that I've got some history with some of your predecessors, Kevin and Joanne Nunnick and John Wood, back in the RTC days, were from KKNA, which was an asset manager, and worked with them for a couple of auctions. And sorry to hear about the passing of Kevin, but
yeah, that was very unfortunate. Kevin was our chairman, actually one of the founders of the company. The company is about 13 years old now, and took it from an idea all the way up to 900 employees. So he was an absolute legend in the business, and his passing was way too early.
Yes, and again, I want to say thank you for having that chance to work with him and his wife Joanne, and again John Wood, who I think is in the Kansas City area somewhere, and still part of your firm. Tell me, how did you get into this business, Jeffrey?
Personally?
Yes.
I was, I had, prior to this, I had started and sold a company and was looking for an opportunity that had incredible growth prospects. And what I liked about this space is that no matter in good times or bad times, people will need valuation advice on commercial real estate. We also do a lot of litigation support. So, and for instance, when there's either a lawsuit or a dispute over commercial real estate, it could be a failed partnership, a failed marriage, anything, you need someone to come in and represent you and give you the value of real estate. So at any day, we have at least 50 people testifying in court.
Wow.
Over the value of real estate. So, when I looked at the industry and everything was out there, this was something that was not going away, and also given that we were in probably one of the best run-ups in our lifetime, certainly. And if you know business, you know it runs in cycles. So, looking forward, looking into that we're going to have a downturn, that this was going to be a good business to be in. And we have grown. I think when I started with the company over 7 years ago, almost 8 years now, we were less than 300 employees, and so we're over 900 now. And unlike most of the companies, we actually grew during the downturn. So we entered 2007. We entered the downturn with about 700 employees. So just to give you an idea of the type of growth we've had. So it's been great, and we have a bright future as we look out into some of the things that we have in our business plan and that we're working on now.
Well, they say the time to buy is in a down economy because the prices are low. The old deal, buy low, sell high, but you have to find out what the true value is, and I think you probably have to have at least a guess of what the economy is going to do in the next coming years. Because if you think it's low and you buy for a number that's real, and then all of a sudden 2 years later it's worth 20% less. That's difficult. So you're in the crystal ball business in a way. Is that true? To some extent, it really depends on the engagement. I mean, for typical financing, if someone looks at buying a hotel, and they'll come up with their own value, and then if they're getting it financed, the bank will come to us and say, give us an independent valuation. But our job is actually to kind of give you an appraisal and value as of the date we issue the appraisal. I see.
So, when we issue that appraisal on such date, we're telling you what the value is that day. Now, the next day, something could happen, and that value could either go up or it could go down, or it could stay the same. But we're just really talking about that day. We do some work for developers, but it's more and we'll come in and look at an area, and we'll come up with maybe a highest and best use, and we'll help the developer decide what to build there. And to the extent we can get the property type correct, we'll help in building kind of what the style and also what the community will pay And so you know if you're building really high-end or you're building medium or you're building workforce, we can help out with that. But, we don't really provide too many reports telling you in 5 years the market's going to be X.
Well,
I can tell you what it's going to be today.
I understand. Give us your website and the corporate telephone number in case they want to find out more about your company and hire you.
Sure. Website is IRR.com, and the corporate number is 212-255-7858.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. It's nice to meet you over the phone. Please give my best to Joanne and John. And again, I appreciate you calling in on July 4th weekend.
Doug, anytime, and thank you for having me. You enjoy your weekend as well, and good luck to you.
You bet. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is Dave Ramsey. Listen to me live weekdays in my new time slot, 3 to 5 p.m., right here on News Talk 1240 WFOY, St. Augustine, Florida.
MarkNet Alliance is a national, membership-based network of 41 auction companies. Our companies are successful auction professionals with proven track records and thriving businesses. The MarkNet companies have a staff of over 540 employees who are working hard every day to meet the goals of their clients during our ever-changing economy. MarkNet companies are able to achieve these goals through cutting-edge technologies and ever-growing investor pools. To view the hundreds of auctions currently being conducted, or for more information, visit marknetalliance.com. MarkNet Alliance is a national, membership-based network of 41 auction companies. Our companies are successful auction professionals with proven track records and thriving businesses. The MarkNet companies have a staff of over 540 employees who are working hard every day to meet the goals of their clients during our ever-changing economy. MarkNet companies are able to achieve these goals through cutting-edge technologies and ever-growing investor pools. To view the hundreds of auctions currently being conducted, or for more information, visit marknetalliance.com.
Okay, we're back, and we have a call. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Doug. Ronnie Reagan from Rowell Auction.
Well, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm sitting here in beautiful downtown Moultrie in the corporate offices of Rowell Auctions.
Tell us a little bit about Rowell Auctions, Ronnie.
My goodness, Rowell Auctions has been in this business since 1936, Doug. We are a fourth-generation auction company, and it's just a pleasure. I've been with Rowell Auctions for 10 years, and Tommy Rowell and I are personal friends, and I retired from another sector of business and came to work for Tommy, and it's been the best change in Ronnie Reagan's life ever.
Wow,
the auction industry has just been great to me and my family, and I couldn't say enough good things about Rowell Auctions and Tommy Rowell and our team of 33 staff here.
Well, very nice. Tell us, does Rowell Auctions have any upcoming auctions coming up?
My goodness, Doug, we've got 146 auctions now listed on our website.
Wow.
Of that, 45 are absolute auctions. We've got 91 foreclosure auctions, which are bank-owned properties.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 7 land and farm tracts coming up, 10 bankruptcy tracts, and we're also selling airplanes, some guns, and some collector cars. So we're very, very busy, and we can sell anything.
Now, you said absolute auctions. Again, our listeners are real estate brokers, general public, investors, real estate media, other auctioneers, government officials, banks. What is an absolute auction?
Absolute auction means that the seller is not setting a reserve on the auction. In other words, let's say, for an example, you have a home that's listed at absolute auction. If that home brings $10,000, it's going to sell regardless of price. If it's a reserve auction versus a reserve auction, our customer may have a reserve on that home of $100,000. But what we've seen through our experience selling absolute versus reserve is that we're getting 12% more dollars in absolute auction versus a reserve auction, and 3 to 4 times as many bidders with an absolute auction versus a reserve auction.
So the more bidders equals a higher price, basically, in generally speaking.
There's no doubt about it, Doug. The best example I can give you is we sold on Thursday for for a financial institution on townhomes, absolute auction. On Friday, we sold in the same neighborhood, same townhomes with a reserve. The Thursday auction, like I said, brought 12% more dollars to the bank and had 3 to 4 times as many bidders versus a reserve auction on Friday.
Well, it sounds like that's a plug for absolute auctions, and that's not only good for the seller, but it's also good for the buyers, because you said something about there's more bidders, and that kind of makes sense. If it's absolutely going to sell, then I'm going to take the time and effort to research it and get involved, compared to maybe another opportunity down the road. Is that kind of paraphrasing what you said?
Absolutely, Doug. And what we're seeing is we've got many investors following us on our website and on our live auctions and ballroom auctions. They tell me that they'd much rather attend an absolute auction versus a reserve auction, in as much as there's so much product on the market, they don't have time to go look at properties that are not absolute.
Yep, there is a lot of product on the marketplace, and again, I'm very thrilled that banks have figured out that yes, an absolute auction works better. I know it's going to sell. I know I'm going to get more interest if it's marketed properly. This is the way to go.
Well, there's absolutely no doubt about it. We prove it time and time again, particularly if you're selling lots and land tracts. Just recently, we sold 350 assets in the North Georgia Mountain region, selling all absolute. And we had just volumes of hits on our website. We sold every asset. And the bank was very pleased and saying we're going to do another auction with Rowell Auctions, Inc.
So this was a bank auction, too?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Sounds like you're doing a lot for the financial institutions. And they're coming to you and they're saying that they want it on the Internet?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have a system where we can show the bankers how many hits and page views they have on each asset. Let's say, for an example, on every one of those 350 assets, we were able to come back to the bank and show them exactly how many bidders per asset, how many page views, how many hits on that website. And it's astonishing at the volume of information we can give the bank to put in their files to document why they sold it at this price.
Well, very nicely done, sir. Listen, what is the website so they can find out about the auctions and maybe an 800 number?
It's 800-323-8388, and the website is www.rowell, R-O-W-E-L-L, auctions, AUCTIONS.com.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. I know it's a crazy weekend with July 4th, but really appreciate the fact that you took the time to call in. Have a good weekend with your family, and again, thank you for calling in.
Thank you, Doug, and have a great 4th.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, great show. And again, the radio show mission statement is to provide an educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. We thank all the guests for calling in. Have a great July 4th weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.